From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings in Iran, Max Robinson in Chicago, Barbara Walters with a special report on her exclusive interview with the wife of the deposed Shah of Iran. And from our desk in Washington, Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. Violent anti-Americanism in the Muslim world spread to Pakistan today, and the Iranian students holding 49 Americans hostage in Tehran threatened to kill them all and blow up the embassy if the United States makes any military move against Iran. Broadcasts from Iran today blamed the United States for the assault on the Grand Mosque in Mecca, the Muslim holy city in Saudi Arabia. Those broadcasts were heard in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan, where a mob stormed the American embassy, killed a young Marine guard, and for a time trapped about 100 Americans inside the embassy. Eventually, they were rescued by the Pakistani army. But for several hours today, Washington's concern for the hostages in Iran was matched by fears for the safety of the Americans in Pakistan. We'll have a full report on the continuing crisis in Iran, but now, for an hour-by-hour account of the terror in Pakistan, here is diplomatic correspondent Ted Koppel.
Washington time, 2:30 in the morning. In Islamabad, the time is 10 hours later, 12:30 in the afternoon. Huge crowds begin moving against the U.S. Embassy. The demonstrators, many of them armed, are enraged by news of the attack against the Muslim Holy of Holies, the Grand Mosque in Mecca. There are reports which have fueled the crowd's fury that America was behind the assault in Mecca. The occupants of the U.S. Embassy compound begin almost immediately to withdraw, first into the Chancery Building and then on up to a huge reinforced room on the third floor, the vault. It is shortly before 3 a.m. Washington time when Marine Corporal Stephen Crowley goes to the roof just above the vault to see what's happening below. Crowley is shot through the head by a sniper outside the compound. The small Pakistani police force guarding the embassy has already been overpowered. Most of the mob is now inside the compound, inside the Chancery Building. U.S. officials in the vault send a frantic cable to Washington. It reaches the Operations Center at the State Department at 4 o'clock this morning. By 5 a.m., Secretary Vance is at the Operations Center. President Carter has already been advised. The U.S. ambassador to Pakistan, Arthur Hummel, is at his residence about 2 miles from the embassy. Hummel is in radio contact with the vault. Shortly after 5 a.m., he establishes phone contact with Washington. Between 5 and 6, the mob sets fire to the Chancery Building and to an apartment complex inside the compound. In the vault, there are roughly 100 Americans and other embassy employees. Some of them are shredding classified material, destroying sensitive code equipment, communicating with Ambassador Hummel. There is pounding on the roof, the sound of gunfire outside, smoke seeping through the vents and under the reinforced steel door. By 7 a.m. Washington time, the floor of the vault is so hot that the carpet has begun smoldering. By 7:30 Washington time, Pakistani troops, which have come by truck from outside Islamabad through the jammed streets, begin clearing the mob out of the compound. 7:45. President Carter telephones Pakistani President Zia, who promises all possible help. By 8 this morning, Pakistani troops have begun helping those inside the vault onto the roof and then by ladder to the ground. The Americans and others are taken to safe havens. By 9:30, it's over. At 10:15, President Zia goes on nationwide television to assure his people that the United States had nothing to do with events in Mecca. Secretary Vance at the Pentagon around noon today for a luncheon meeting with the Secretary of Defense responds to a central question. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. Is there a pattern?
It's hard to say at this point whether there is any pattern that's developing. It appears to me that the event that occurred last night is probably not part of a pattern.
As of this evening, only one thing is certain. A U.S. Marine is dead. One other American official in Islamabad remains unaccounted for. Ted Koppel, ABC News at the State Department.
So much for today's terror in Pakistan. In Iran, there have been new threats against the hostages, threats inspired by the new United States policy that does not any longer rule out the use of force. American military power is on the move. The aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk, with 85 fighters and bombers on board, left Subic Bay in the Philippines today and is now steaming toward the Arabian Sea. It will be several days before the Kitty Hawk is on station, together with its escort force of 2 destroyers, a cruiser, a frigate, and an oil tanker. The Iranians are well aware of the movement of this naval force. Here is Peter Jennings in Tehran.
Here in Tehran tonight, the stakes are higher. Those holding the embassy have issued another communique, which was read on Iranian television. It says in part,
if we feel that the threats of United States are going to be realized, we shall destroy all the hostages.
By threat, they are referring to news of American naval maneuvers from the Philippines and in the Indian Ocean and the Persian Gulf. The communique goes on. The smallest military action will endanger the lives of all U.S. citizens living in Iran.
And any movement is under control, and we are in the position to destroy the embassy and the hostages in a moment.
There has also been reaction to U.S. naval movements by members of the Revolutionary Council. Here is ABC's Bob Dyke.
Sadek Hotspazadeh says President Carter's redeployment of warships and his implied threat of military intervention is causing no alarm here.
I believe that it is more or less for internal consumption.
Do you believe President Carter is bluffing then?
Oh, certainly. But let's put it other way. That's to say that it's a real threat. We are not going to submit to any of these threats whatsoever, and that is a definite decision of us. No, we don't have the military power to confront the United States, but we have the faith and the will, and that is much more stronger than the weapons.
Hotspazadeh restated his country's conditions for talks with the U.S. First, the American government should agree the former Shah is a criminal. Second, an international commission should be set up to investigate the Shah's alleged crimes. And third, the Shah's fortune should be returned to Iran. If these conditions were met, would the hostages be freed?
Only declaration of these things is not sufficient. Some actions should be taken that we could convince our people that this time, in spite of all the time that the American government had lied to the Iranian people, this time the Americans are serious.
The hostages would not be freed, but this would be the first step towards some sort of settlement.
A good step.
On the streets of Tehran today, it was a show of faith and force, but it was spectacular. This was a patriotic event for Iranians, a chance to show they were not afraid of veiled threats of U.S. military intervention. Khomeini once said his Islamic Republic has 37 million soldiers. That's Iran's estimated population, every man, woman, and child. There was love for the Ayatollah Khomeini, without whom this crisis would not have been possible. There was hatred for the former Shah of Iran and for President Carter. There was religion, the Islamic New Year. The 15th century had finally arrived. There were uniforms, the Army, officer cadets, and the Air Force. It was the biggest march and demonstration here in Tehran since the Islamic Revolution, and it converged on the United States Embassy, where as many as 49 Americans are still captive. This was a simple demonstration with a simple aim by people who have no conception of what diplomatic immunity means or what mediation can accomplish. Bob Dyke, ABC News, Tehran.
As reported earlier, a U.S. Marine was killed in the attack this morning on the American embassy in Pakistan. He was 20-year-old Stephen Crowley of Port Jefferson, New York. Relatives told reporters that Crowley had wanted to be a Marine all his life. He had been in the Marines for 2 years and posted in Pakistan only since July. Today, President Carter telephoned Crowley's mother to extend this country's sympathy. Still ahead, the president issues yet another warning to Iran not to place any Americans held there on trial, and their colleagues who've been freed met the press in West Germany today on the eve of their Thanksgiving return home.
Hello. Mom, it's the lady from television.
No, honey, this is Kathy. It's probably my jacket.
At Century 21, we really get to know your house.
Beautiful windows.
Because what's special to you could be special to someone else.
Self-cleaning oven?
We'll remember to show buyers all the details.
Copy? Thank you.
At Century 21, we're sold on your house before we sell it.
Could we show it this afternoon?
How do you spell relief?
When I get acid indigestion, I spell relief R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Rolaids spells relief. Clinical tests prove with Rolaids you get relief Tums can't beat. That's right, relief Tums can't beat. In fact, relief no other leading antacid can beat. How do you spell relief?
For heartburn? I know. R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Relief no other leading antacid can beat.
The president remained at Camp David today, keeping in touch by phone with officials here in Washington. But at the White House, it was made clear that the official view of the crisis is now more serious than ever. Here's a report from Sam Donaldson.
The administration insists it is still trying to solve this crisis by peaceful means. But in the wake of yesterday's disclosure that the use of military force is no longer being ruled out, today's message seems to be that both patience and time are running out. Press Secretary Jody Powell said trials of our personnel in Iran would be a mockery. He said American hostages have been virtually condemned already under Islamic law. And he warned that an attempt by holding trials to turn hostages into legal prisoners could not be accepted. Furthermore, mistreatment of the hostages has suddenly been given emphasis here at the White House. From a variety of sources, one official said it is known the hostages are still being blindfolded, bound hand and foot, isolated, denied messages, and shown forged documents suggesting their government has abandoned them. The picture, said an official, is one of calculated and sophisticated techniques of psychological pressure. When this crisis started, there was a view expressed here that time was on the side of a peaceful solution. But the longer things strung out without some tragic accident, the greater the chance that forces of moderation and reason would take hold in Iran. But now some officials here are beginning to doubt that. The Ayatollah Khomeini seems not to believe that Washington will act, seems to believe that the mounting warnings from here are just a bluff. We hope to God we don't have to prove it, said one official, but we aren't bluffing. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
Well, the pressure is increasing, and so is support for any military action the president might order. For example, there was this statement today from Senator George McGovern of South Dakota, usually a staunch opponent of military moves.
While we'll be patient, we'll be prudent in bringing about the release of these hostages. If they're not released, if they're tried and executed, that's going to provoke very severe reprisals from this country. I have no doubt about that in my own mind.
And that means military.
That means military action. What else can we do? It may also mean a very airtight blockade around Iran that would prevent anything from moving in or out of that country.
Secretary of State Vance met at the State Department today with the ambassadors of about 30 Islamic countries, asking them to provide increased security for the American embassies in their countries. And late today, the Secretary released a message from Bruce Langan, the top American diplomat in Tehran, asking for the Thanksgiving prayers of all Americans, not only for the release of all the hostages. Langan also asked for prayers that good relations will someday be restored between the United States and Iran. In view of what is happening now, that day seems distant indeed. Peter?
Any show of American strength here means two reactions in Iran. The first, Iranian, is in this atmosphere one of derision and further solidarity. The second is a certain disbelief that the United States would attempt to rescue the hostages by force. No one here pays much attention to President Carter's remarks ruling it out, and those of us here, as Jerry King points out, believe it would be nigh on impossible.
The Israeli raid on Entebbe is often cited as the precedent for any rescue attempt in Tehran. But as Western diplomats here see it, this kind of operation just would not work in Iran. The distance involved, more than 1,000 miles, puts any airborne assault beyond the fuel capacity of helicopters. To bring a flotilla closer would risk having the ships bottled up inside the Straits of Hormuz. The use of conventional aircraft is hampered by the fact the hostages are not at the Tehran airport, unlike Entebbe. They are in the city center. Light armored vehicles flown in would still have to pass through 6 miles of heavily populated area. A surprise assault impossible. Tehran's daytime traffic is some of the world's worst, simply clogging the streets by night, and it happened during the revolution last February, would also thwart a ground operation. Certainly, few here believe the regular army would be much of an obstacle. It is too politicized. Discipline has disappeared. One diplomat put its credibility at a minus level. The Air Force is better, but not much. Tonight's communique from the students occupying the embassy is a reminder that any rescue attempt, unless it is a total surprise and perfectly executed, would almost surely bring the death of the hostages and possibly other Americans. As a European embassy official told me today, the American capacity to act in Iran is limited to a punitive strike. A rescue seems out of the question. Jerry King, ABC News, Tehran.
A radio station in the Soviet Union that broadcasts to Iran is now urging the Khomeini government to release the American hostages. And an American official said that broadcast represents a change of 180 degrees in the Soviet position on the Iranian crisis. The French government, which up till now has refrained from any statement on the takeover, today criticized the Khomeini government and called for the release of the hostages. The French said no motive can justify the occupation of an embassy and the taking of diplomats as hostages.
This is Aldo Cella. He is not a slave to fashion. He speaks no French. But Aldo Cella knows what women like. Cella Bianco. A very special white wine.
Chill a chair.
Aldo.
Chevy's National Economy Drive is on.
Chevy's got the drive.
Chevy's got it.
Featuring great values like Chevy Malibu, America's best-selling mid-size four-door sedan and best-selling wagon. Both with gas mileage estimates better than many smaller cars.
Chevy's got the drive.
Come and get it.
Get Chevy's free booklet on fuel-saving tips and come take a special test drive that lets you see how good driving skills can improve your gas mileage to help you go farther on less.
Chevy's National Economy Drive.
All of these make popcorn the same way. Now West Bend offers you a better way. The revolutionary Stir Crazy. The West Bend Stir Crazy's amazing automatic stirring action heats each kernel evenly to give it a bigger pop. The result? Bigger, fluffier popcorn. Up to 25% more from the same amount of kernels. Hot, buttered, delicious. Stir Crazy, the better way to pop popcorn. Made only by West Bend.
Mayor, we've got to discuss these plans.
Slow down, Dave. Have some coffee.
Whoa.
Only half a cup. Don't you like my coffee?
I love the rich taste. It's the caffeine I can do without.
You happen to be drinking Brim decaffeinated coffee.
This is Brim?
This is Brim, and it's decaffeinated, so you don't have to stop at half a cup.
If it tastes this rich, I don't want to stop. Fill it to the rim.
With Brim.
Fill your cup to the rim with the rich taste of Brim.
The 13 hostages released during the past 3 days will be getting on a plane tomorrow, heading home for Thanksgiving with their families. Today they met the press for the first time since arriving in Wiesbaden, West Germany, taking care not to endanger those still being held in Iran. Pierre Salinger has more.
The 13 returned hostages were unsmiling when they walked into the auditorium of the Air Force Hospital in Wiesbaden, where they had agreed to meet the press. When their spokesman, Lloyd Rollins, a general services officer for the State Department, began to speak, it was clear it was not going to be an ordinary news conference.
The following message is from the Iranian students who participated in the takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran to the American people. We were told if we provided this information, the treatment of the hostages would not deteriorate. According to the students, the Shah committed many atrocities during his reign. The students state that the American press ill-informed the public about these atrocities. The students state that it would be detrimental to the welfare of the remaining hostages if the Shah is permitted to leave the U.S. and enter a third country.
Rollins explained the reason the 8 men and 5 women refused to answer questions.
Until our friends have been freed, we will not discuss the situation in Tehran or what we have experienced. Our main desire is to return quickly to our families. Thank you.
Then they filed out to spend their last evening on European soil. At dawn tomorrow, they will head for the United States on the last leg of their journey to freedom and Thanksgiving with their families. Pierre Salinger, ABC News in Wiesbaden, West Germany.
If those hostages still being held in Iran are brought to trial as spies, as the Ayatollah threatens, they'll find a system of justice far different from our own. Tim O'Brien explains.
To many Americans, Islamic justice is synonymous with the firing squad. Since the Shah was deposed, 657 people have been executed. Many of those close to the Shah were summarily sentenced to death by the Islamic Revolutionary Tribunal without even the pretense of due process. But Middle East scholars contend that while that may have been revolutionary justice, it is not Islamic justice. The legal system in Iran is based on the Quran, Islam's holy book. The law is constantly modernized, and today it includes the right to a lawyer, the right to confront witnesses, the right to appeal, and many other rights. Sadek Qutbizadeh of the Iranian Revolutionary Council assured Peter Jennings in Tehran today that any trial of American hostages would be fair and would be public.
Will those be open trials, open to international observers? Yes, that will be. Sometimes the expression is used, show trials. Do you think there's a possibility of that?
No. There won't be any show trial.
And what if the American hostages are convicted? Will they be harmed? Dr. Thomas Ricks of Georgetown University.
I think that the possibilities of a public humiliation and flogging, for example, if in fact the punishment was to be given out, might be a likely punishment. Execution, I think, is completely out of the question.
And Iranian officials here in Washington have also hinted that even if there were a trial, it is not likely that the American hostages would be harmed. They suggest the purpose of the trial would not be punishment as much as it would be publicity, to draw world attention to what the Ayatollah Khomeini regards as U.S. criminal acts in support of the Shah. Tim O'Brien, ABC News, at the Iranian Embassy in Washington.
Nice round, Arnold Palmer. But do you always finish up with a glass of orange juice?
Not always. Sometimes I start off with a glass. It isn't just for breakfast anymore.
Orange juice at a recording session, Kathy Lee?
Well, it tastes great, and it's so good for you. Besides, everyone knows it isn't just for breakfast anymore. Nothing's added to 100% pure Florida orange juice.
Hey, I'd like to try orange juice with a hamburger.
Go ahead.
Orange juice from Florida. It isn't just for breakfast anymore.
How are we coming, dear?
Just fine. Darn these hands.
Your minor arthritis pain is acting up. What this pain needs is Bayer Aspirin, 100% pure pain reliever, 100% pure aspirin. And remember, for arthritis pain, doctors recommend aspirin 4-to-1 over any other non-prescription medication.
Honey, you look terrific.
For hours of relief, Bayer Aspirin, 100% pure pain reliever for arthritis pain.
Presenting an ideal meal to make with your leftover turkey after the holidays.
After 8 pounds of yams with the sugar and the spice, 7 mashed potatoes, 6 bowls of jellied cranberry relish, 5 pumpkin pies, 4 dozen rolls, 3 fruit cakes, too many nuts, and a turkey with stuffing inside.
A salad made with your turkey leftovers and California iceberg lettuce. It could become a holiday tradition.
Every restaurant has a dish they're especially proud of. They call it the house specialty. And each one is as different as the restaurant it's served in. Yet as different as each dish is, there's one wine that can be served with all of them. Blue Nun. Blue Nun is the delicious imported white wine that's correct with any dish. It goes as well with meat as it does with fish. Blue Nun. The wine that's special, no matter whose house you're eating in.
In Mecca, Saudi Arabian forces have now reportedly isolated the invaders who attacked the Grand Mosque yesterday. The State Department today denounced as a lie the charge by the Ayatollah Khomeini that the United States was responsible for that attack. For more on this story, here is Barry Dunsmore.
On any day in Islam's holiest shrine, there are many thousands of pilgrims. And according to Saudi Arabian sources, yesterday there were some 50,000 people in the Grand Mosque when it was taken over by an estimated 100 armed fanatics. Many of those pilgrims remained hostage throughout the day and night. How many is not clear. However, the Saudi authorities stormed the area today, and the Saudi ambassador in Washington now says that everything is under control. Although other sources say there still could be as many as 1,000 people being held. Reports that family members of Saudi Arabian oil minister Yamani are still among the hostages cannot be confirmed. The big question, of course, is who is behind it all, and is it linked to an Islamic anti-American conspiracy?
appears from the reporting that is beginning to come in that the people who are involved and may yet be involved at Mecca represent a particular Saudi Arabian sect.
The Saudi ambassador told ABC News that those behind the siege are local fanatics, led by a man proclaiming himself to be a new Muslim Messiah, or Mahdi. He and his followers are said to be Saudi Arabian, with no ties, religious or otherwise, to any outside country. Barry Dunsmore, ABC News, the State Department.
The makers of the laxative most often recommended by doctors announce the great taste of oranges and the natural goodness of grain together in new orange-flavored Metamucil. Made from grain, rich in bulk with no chemical stimulants to give gentle, effective relief from occasional constipation.
That is a nice taste.
Made from natural grain with a pleasant taste of oranges. New orange flavor Metamucil.
What do you take for a headache?
Anacin, but not at night.
Bayer aspirin, but not at night.
Tylenol, but not at night. What did you take at night?
Excedrin PM.
Excedrin PM.
Excedrin PM. Many people who use different pain relievers during the day have chosen Excedrin PM at night. Now it has a new formula. Excedrin PM relieves your headache and gives extra help to relax and sleep. So whatever you take during the day, at night, try the nighttime pain reliever. Excedrin PM.
The man at the center of the hostage situation that opposed Shah of Iran remains hospitalized in New York tonight. Barbara Walters has now had a private meeting with his wife, the former Empress Farah. Barbara?
Max, the Empress told me the Shah wants to leave this country as soon as possible to return to Mexico. He hopes to go when his current set of radiation treatments and new semi-surgery on his gallbladder are completed, perhaps within 2 weeks. The Empress told me she's deeply distressed that there are people who doubt his illness. While in Mexico, the Shah was jaundiced, she said, and suffering great abdominal pain. It couldn't be determined whether the pain was from the gallbladder itself or from a tumor pressing on the gallbladder. If the Shah did not receive immediate diagnosis and treatment from a team of experts, it was felt he would die. The Shah had received previous treatment at the hospital in New York, so the couple asked to be flown here. Why not France or England, I asked. The Empress said her husband had never been invited by those countries and had no contacts with their governments. Her husband, she said, had his good days and bad. He's able to watch television and receive an occasional visitor. He's deeply saddened at what his stay in this country has caused, she said. However, he feels the real reason the Ayatollah Khomeini seized the American embassy was to keep his revolution from crumbling. The Empress says she feels what happened to the Shah in the past probably could not have been avoided. It was a religious revolution, she said, and she doubts that anything President Carter could have done at that time would have made a difference. But there's been no contact at all from the Carter administration since they came here, and now they would like some guidance. Empress Farah told me she learned of her husband's cancer 3 years ago, but she only told their 4 children hurriedly in what she said was a matter of 15 minutes when she arrived in the United States. She didn't want them to learn the news of their father's cancer from the newspapers or television. Frank?
Thank you, Barbara. ABC News will present another special report tonight, as we will every night on the crisis in Iran, as long as the situation remains critical there. Tonight's special report will be at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. That's our report on World News Tonight. For ABC News, good night.
The on 8 is enough.
I'm going to pitch in the big leagues.
Merle's big break may bust up Susan's marriage. And Charlie's Angels trade their wings for skates to track a kidnapped roller beauty. Then,
Oh, he's not gonna be okay.
who in Vegas wants Dan dead?
Good evening, I'm Ann Holt. Coming up on Newswatch tonight at 6, Iranian students at TSU attempt to stage a demonstration only 24 hours after Mayor Fulton banned such activity in the interest of public safety. Also tonight, Jim Travis reports on one local official who wants a review of any state aid being